What's up, guys? Nerd Central. Let's find out what happened with that British patrol in A New Nation Part 3. The British officer. Okay, we're assuming the British officer came towards Cox. Cox greeted him by saying, "Lucky we found you with all the mysterious disappearances of that group of British soldiers in Kansas. We would like to have more men." The officer responded, "I agree." Cox mounted and said, "We're heading to Bunker Hill. It would... I would not... Sorry. I would not... It would not hurt to have protection." Sorry, I wasn't reading the T. I was only reading the I. "I agree," responded the captain. The captain and officer, same thing. Then Cox said, "We're headed to Boston. How about you?" "The same," said the captain. Then Cox said, "Alright, boys, let's set up camp." The British captain told his men the same order, except in a more military-like manner. A week later, the men got up earlier than the Brits. The men referring to the Americans, of course. And that's all I'll say throughout the story, just to warn you. When the Brits were ready, except for weapons in hand, Cox said to the British captain, who was about 100 feet away from the camp, he's walking and talking, "Me and my men are leaving." The captain then said, "Alright," and started to walk off. Cox pulled out his knife and slowly and then threw it in the captain's back, and then he yelled, "First Kansas Cavalry, fire!" Then the men fired, and all the Brits were in a roll call formation, so they all went on the first volley. Then Cox said, "Show mercy on the wounded." Right after that, stabbing filled the air. Then Cox said, "Men..." Whoa. Oh, never mind. Then Cox said, "We're only about 6 miles out." So the men rode towards Bunker Hill. When the night came, they rested, and the very next morning they got dressed in their normal clothes and then rode off. When they got to Bunker Hill, Cox rode up to General Hanks, who was appointed by the meeting, his co-commander and advisor, Commander Drum, next to him. Okay. Cox greeted him by, "Good day, sirs." Hanks responded, "To you also, sir." Drum said to Cox, "When our infantry run out of ammunition, I want you to be the leader of the charge." Cox started to ride off, but Hanks rode up to him and stopped and said, "We want you to give an inspirational speech to the men. They're a little bit weary." Before the battle, of course. Cox put his unit in line and then rode off in front of the army and spoke, "My brothers, today we face an enemy that we have faced before. Yes, I know we lost the last time, and we lost men, but we must do this anyway." He started to get more fierce. "I may die, you may die, for your country, for your kin. When we fight, let our weapons not put fear in the enemy, but let our voices make them flee. For the United Colonies of America." The man whooped and shouted at the conclusion of it. Cox rode back to his men. He looked at Tom and said, Stay next to me. Alright guys, ready for the big battle? The Battle of Bunker Hill, or Chapter 4, if you prefer. On the other side of the field, the Redcoat Army started to advance. Cox looked at Tom and handed him a note saying, "The sun sets on me in battle. Hand this to your mother." Then Tom, with a shaken face, responded saying, "Okay." Cox said to Tom, "Sound the first volley." Tom put the bugle on his mouth and gave the order. The drummers relayed the orders to the infantry. The men raised their gun to aim and fired, and simultaneously smoke, blood, and screams filled the air. The British guns responded. A bullet hit a man in Cox's unit in his cheek, but only skimped it. An officer rode to Cox and said, "Sir, the men are nearly out of ammo." The firefight has been going on for a little bit. Cox then said, We may need to cover a retreat, so on my order, get close range weapons. If you don't have them, have the men charge at the sound of the bugle." The officer said, "Yes, sir." Before he left, Cox said, "Give the loudest rebel yell in the history of warfare." The officer relayed the orders with a hand signal from his dad. Tom blasted the bugle, and then the man pulled out common farming tools that they brought for close range. With the second blast of the bugle, they began to charge. Following a loud yell, Cox and his cavalry charged too. Alright guys, that's all for this part. Let's see what happens when they charge next part.